Welcome, dear friends, to Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. Let's hope it lasts this video and doesn't get taken down, because we're going to talk about some truth today. First of all, I'd like to share with you a story about when I was a child. The moment my mum was letting go of me to give me to a school teacher, the first time I was going into a school for the full day, I had some I can't remember what they're called. They had two balls on a string, and you held a piece of plastic, and you went dum, dum, and they go dum dum dum, and if you got it right, they'd go dum 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 dum, and you could do it for ages. I had them in my hands, and I remember the teacher saying, "No, you can't have them. Take them away." And she pulled them out of my hands, ripped them out of my hands, the teacher, because I didn't want to let go of them. And that was the first moment I experienced real abuse from the system. Real abuse from the system. From that moment on, I realized everything that I was being programmed, purposely programmed, was to believe certain stories of history that were real. And remember, stories are only written by the conquerors, so they can say what they want. So really, it's never really truth. It's only what they want to write. So history shows us that it's all bullshit. And it's the truth. And when you start to dig deep, real deep, and you start to listen to people of age who shared the stories about World War II, who shared the stories of many different countries, that you would sit and listen to them, you could hear real truth. And the truth that was written was always bullshit. And we're being led to believe that everything that we see on the mainstream media, all the political, BBCs, CNNs, this is all genuine. And all the books, the establishment books that you read, are all genuine. When in a matter of fact, it's all lies. It's all manipulated. Everything for an agenda. One of the most painful things for me when I got older was when I started walking this path of new understanding, which went deeper than what I knew was wrong, but I couldn't work out. I ended up listening to many people because I decided to break away from the mainstream BS, all of the science, all of the universities that were trying to tell me about their truth, propaganda. And I started looking for independent people who had different takes on all walks of life. So I ended up bumping into people in the world that were telling me things that I can understand. If I start to tell you these things, it may be challenging for you. So I remember going to see a guy called David Icke. I remember going to see, actually working alongside a guy called Mark Devlin. I remember spending many, many hours doing my research with great minds of this world. Jordan Maxwell, Jim Mars. There's so many to mention, so many different thinkers, and these people were resonating with me. But to begin with, there was something inside me that was resisting. How could the Doors, my favourite group, be anything but true fighters against the system? And I realised that coming to terms with listening to all the stories about the monarchy and all our history and the wars that we've been through and everything that we've been told that is the criminal justice system, and that's why they call it criminal, because it's criminal. And so many things you realise about maritime law and the land law and us being chattel to these people who claim to be elite, which they're not elite. They're parasites. Of course they are, because the world would be a different place if they were kind and caring. And everything that I believed, because I was programmed by the system to believe, I realised was all a lie. So when heads fall to the ground and they mourn of the passing of famous people because they've been programmed to believe that these people are what the agenda programmed you to believe. When you actually look into these people and look at their background and study them and understand them, and then start to look at what they've actually done in the world and how they've created either huge amounts of wealth and done very little to disperse that and help their fellow brothers and sisters like I do and you do daily. We try and help daily. We try and give and share. I don't tell you a tenth of what I do daily to help people every day. But that's just in me. It's who I am. Wealth means nothing. Wealth does mean that I can give back and share to my fellow brothers and sisters, which I do. And I'm proud of that. And that's one of the reasons why I live. I breathe. I did it from a child. The most important thing for me when I got home from Poland was to share my sweets from Poland with all my friends. Nothing else mattered. The trip to Poland wasn't important. It was just getting back, because every moment was excitement of getting out of that car, running to Andrew Downey and his brothers, Michael and Nigel and Vincent, a friend Vincent, Thomas, and all my friends, David, and just gave sweets, and that fulfilled me. And when anybody says, "Who are you?" I say, "That's who I am. That's the real me." You take everything else away, that's who I am. I've always been that person to give, always loved giving. Something about it, it just generates a good energy inside because you want to, just because you want to, nothing else. Don't hold on to its value. You just do it because you want to do it. So when people hang their heads and they travel from around the world to mourn somebody that in actual fact has done very little for humanity apart from save a son that should be locked up in prison, or knighthood people who raped and did things in hospital to people that were no longer alive, and gave them a knighthood, and somebody who agreed to drop bombs over human beings in this world, regardless what colour they are or religion, but drop bombs over them and kill the children and the mums and dads and granddads, 700,000 of them, and get a knighthood for it. There has to come a point where if common sense doesn't prevail, then all I can say is that, like many people, they're programmed. So I'll tell you a story, shall I? And it's a lovely story, and it's a true story, and it's my story, and it gives you an idea of counteracting this conversation that now you all look at me and think, how can you be spiritual? Because many spiritual people are saying that about spiritual people who are anti BS and anti parasitical subhuman beings. And the story is beautiful. So there's a forest in the world, beautiful forest, only a small one. But at the bottom of the forest, there's a lovely stream. And one day, a long time ago, a young girl from the farm used to play down there. And one summer's day, a young man on a horse, dressed really beautiful, passed by and saw this young common. Yeah, we have to get that in, don't we? This young girl with no money but very beautiful. He looked at her and smiled, and she smiled back. And he got off his horse and they began to talk. Every day thereafter, this young man on a horse would come by and wait for her, and they would play together and talk. Until one day, when they both grew up, they married. This story goes on that the man, this young man on the horse, was actually the Prince of Serbia. And this young poor farm girl became the Queen of Serbia. Now, it's not history that shows us, but it's the people of Serbia. They speak of one of their own who became a princess, who then spent the rest of her life giving, sharing her wealth, helping those with little. Every day she did miracles using her hands and helping in so many ways. How she created, how she made things happen and changed and molded the world, and not only the world but the king. So together they made a huge difference in the poor people's lives. That difference was so profound that if you today go to Serbia, you will see everywhere beautiful carvings in stone of this princess that Serbia embraced with love and compassion. When they speak of her, they speak of almost like a godlike energy, because she was so kind and loving that villagers came together and created sculptures of her beautiful, shiny hair and face. The people did this. The people recognized her for who she truly was, one of them. She would come out and help with her hands. She would do things alongside everybody. She would be one of them because she was one of them. How do I know this story? When I went to Serbia a few years ago, there was a piece of land that was available. And there is a lot of land in Serbia that's available, and it's very, very reasonable in price. And it was such a beautiful piece of land, and it had a slope, and when the sun set, it sunset over this beautiful little forest, only a small one. And at the bottom of this little forest where you walk down, there's a stream. And the family who was selling the property told me the story that this is where the young common girl who became the Queen of Serbia and loved by a nation till this day, that's where she used to play. I am not anti-monarchy. I am anti-parasitical energy. You are what you do. And I'm going to leave it there. Make this of what you want. But I tell you this as a fact. I am not a nasty soul. I do not hate. I just see what I see, read and hear and watch and see. And when somebody is protected and should actually be in prison for molesting young girls, I'm sorry guys, it doesn't matter who you are. In my eyes, you're protecting a paedophile, and that's the way it is. And when you knighthood somebody who was the most prolific paedophile and molester of bodies with no soul in them in hospitals anymore because they'd left that body, and that person gets knighted, and the prince is the best friend of him. Are you serious? Are you serious? You want me to just ignore that and pretend that's not real? Do you want me to ignore the fact that somebody sat on a gold throne wearing a crown worth so much wealth that they can take people off the street build houses, use their land and create more homes for people. I never saw any of that done. All I saw was more of a wealth grab than ever before, and nothing's changed. I wish you well. Do this video as what you want. I don't care, it's my truth. I'm old enough now to speak my truth. But I tell you this, when I see good done in this world by human beings, I will share that with the world and say, that's beautiful. And when I see people who should do good but don't with their wealth, they don't get time or praise from me. And that's how it should be. Greed on your bike. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, we will change this world. But maybe not today. Have a great day, guys. Love you all.